Hello, everybody. This is Dungeon Master Pangoria Fallstar, and with me is...
Fiddlesticks. Don't worry about Pumpkin. He's out sick.
Welcome, Fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks, of course, is replacing Kali as Kali entered retirement in my campaign. And Fiddlesticks is a short elf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so short elves. Let's go. Like
Personally, I don't see the appeal. Those Christmassy bastards don't know what's wrong.
like sometimes when you see something and like your brain like solves a puzzle instantly, and all of a sudden you're like, what the future is. The future is we're not going to have necessarily like halflings and things like that. Like we will, like, as a, we can keep, the hen as a race option or a species options or however you want. But like every race that is humanoid is also going to be able to be small because humans can be small. Why is small humans already not an option in Dungeons and Dragons? And so I said, that must be the future we're heading towards. Because I saw that they did that with some of the things that they did recently, and I went full on. And then they didn't do that, by the way. They completely like stopped doing that. But like that is the future for me, is everybody should be able to be small.
Small or medium, yeah.
Yeah. Species in Dungeons and Dragons, if they're medium sized, should have room for small size.
Yep.
And here's the other weird one. If they're small sized, maybe allow them to be on the medium size.
Look, sometimes you just get a really big boy.
Yeah. I mean, that halfling is gigantic.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Beats is why.
But here's the thing. Here's my thing, right? There's not, the whole thing with halflings is that they're brave because they're hobbitses, right? And
yeah.
And so
no, they're not. Hobbits are trademarked. These are halflings.
Right.
Totally different.
Yeah, they're trademarked in the other direction. And so, but it's like, okay, let me put it as this example. Elves and goblins are described the same in some cases. So goblins, elves, gnomes, like they were just like, for a long time, for example, fairies and elves were the same thing. For a long time, elves and goblins were the same thing. And so, like, they're all the same. And now suddenly elves are medium-sized. They used to be small. Elves used to be little things, It just, concept-wise, it's okay. And inclusive-wise, I think the future is going to be with the humanoid things being allowed to be small. Like, why can't you have a small centaur? I mean, you can have a medium centaur. They used to be large. They're large in the monster manual. They're medium in the player's handbook. Allow for small centaurs. I want pony centaurs that are small. The game breaks apart at large because the large size is gigantic. It is enormous. It is pick you up one-handed, even though the figurines don't quite look like that is possible. Large humanoids can pick you up one-handed.
I mean, yeah, I've seen enough large humanoids to think, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. So there's a lot of variance there. And that's why you can't just be like, I'm over 8 feet tall, so I'm a large character. Not quite, buddy.
Buddy. Completely.
I don't know. It's the size issue in Dungeons and Dragons for me personally is something that I struggle with greatly because you have a gnome with 18 strength that weighs and is the size of a 3-year-old that I can pick up and throw like a football. And that's weird to me. I cannot wrap my mind around that. I'm not talking about like people who have dwarfism, especially when they're like full-grown adults, because they are not as light as the gnomes are. The gnomes are the weight of
Like
a baby.
toddler.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are baby toddler weight.
Like, I was using gnome and halfling weight. Sorry, pumpkin.
Yeah.
Fiddlesticks is a different character, everyone. Wink.
Yes.
But yeah, Kali's weight was based on gnome and halfling weight because I don't think we actually had anything in the homebrew document for Kali's race.
No.
And yeah, she was like 30, 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, I carry as part of my day job more than 30 to 40 pounds just going from place to place. I'm not like really super muscular, so it's hard.
Right.
But I can carry 50 pounds, no sweat.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm picking up 50 pounds easy. Like that's not a difficult thing. And it is for people though. There are people where, you know, I've seen in real life 8 strength and it's awkward because they drop a box in front of you and they go, "Oh my God, this is so heavy." And you pick it up with so much ease that you almost fall backwards and you're like, I did not realize this was the difference. And anybody who I'm talking about, like throwing characters because this Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of people with dwarfism have actually been injured with like life-altering injuries because people have decided to pick them up and throw them. Do not throw people. Do not. This is like complete disrespect. Just
Do
just
not throw
putting it out
someone
there.
who is not specifically a trained professional allowing you to throw them.
Yes,
Like-
exactly. It is. I don't. Things like that really bother me. So one of there was this guy in my high school who had dwarfism. I'm not gonna put his name out, but he was also in weightlifting class with me. This guy could like squat over 400 pounds easy. Like he was built, you know. This is like super strong guy. You know, I can understand somebody up to a certain size having the 18 strength and all that stuff because I have seen it. And there's a lot of that, I think, in D&D and in real life where people like fail, like people don't see the thing, right? And
Yeah.
so they can't picture it for the game, right? And so the baby size characters that are gnomes, that you know, they're like 2 feet tall, you know, or maybe, you know, fairies with like 20
this is
strength.
A character. They're 2 feet tall. They're 30 pounds, and they have an 18 strength. So we take the usual multiplication, 18 times 15. We multiply that by 3/4. Let me pull a calculator up because this math has gotten too complicated for me already.
Yeah, see, that's fine.
Okay, so that's a 30-pound baby that can lift 200 pounds before they get tired.
And so, you know, I need something, like I need to understand something there, just so that I can visualize it, just so that I can understand it, because Dungeons and Dragons does not concern itself with the necessary secondary superpowers needed to do things.
It really doesn't.
You know, and the only thing that's there is that the world itself has like magic kind of imbued in it. And so There is magic
Okay,
everywhere in
but
Dungeons and
we
Dragons.
can't. The problem with that then becomes that everyone and their mother will argue that there is no reason for barbarians and fighters to be able to just randomly open heavy doors without having to roll for it, because they're not wizards. Like, no one will give marshals that slack. I say no one, cause
Wait,
as
hold,
if
hold
you
on,
don't give marshals that slack.
hold
Like,
on. Say that again.
okay,
Because you convoluted the sentence, so I can't follow.
I absolutely convoluted the sentence. Give me a minute.
Yeah, sorry.
People won't cut martial slack with regards to incredible feats in their games as a general rule.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, this is part of what I'm talking about, because it's like I myself struggle with it in the sense that I sit there and I go, the numbers are there, so I allow it. I want everybody to understand that the numbers are there, so I allowed it, because this is the fantasy that the character wanted, and this is the fantasy I'm giving the player. You know, the player wanted this fantasy, the player's getting that fantasy. Because it does not actually harm the game. Me internally, I am trying to picture it, and I struggle. I struggle really, really hard unless I like add secondary like superpowers to the characters to make it make sense for myself. And this is where I think a lot of people run into what are labeled as bad DMs, in the sense that it's people who yuck the yum and say like, no, your character can't do that. That doesn't make any sense. They can't visualize it. And sometimes it's visualizing things that can be done. Like flipping over somebody's head in full plate armor is actually a possible thing. I have seen it done.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that we don't see every day. We don't understand. We don't know. So I'm constantly going, and like I've shared some videos on our Discord, and I think you've seen them, where it's sort of like, these are perfect examples of people with like 20 dexterity, and things like that, where you see these amazing feats and amazing things that people are able to do. And so if you just take the ultimate pinnacle of human existence and you put that into your D&D characters, because all of your D&D characters are superhuman. Like, I think once your stat is above 14, you're at superhuman. Like, I think 16.
Pretty much.
At 16, you're like
you
world
start
record
the game
holders.
superhuman already.
Yeah. Yeah, you are the most exceptional people in universe. Because you are, it's like you are the people who are able to go up to like lions and gorillas and wrestle them, right? Like you are not you are not like regular people at all. The reflection of a character and what that character can do in game, especially with Dungeons and Dragons, you have to treat it like superhero movies.
And
right?
the result of that is you get guys who straight up could just, oh yeah, this is a car. Let me limber up my muscles a bit and throw it.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is why I come back to the magic infused world of Dungeons and Dragons. In the typical lore of like a, I don't know, Forgotten Realms, or you know, whatever other thing they have, the world itself is surrounded by something called the weave, which is magic. And there's different kinds of magic in D&D, which is the magic that is like a dragon is magical, but if you do an anti-magic shell, the dragon doesn't cease to exist, because the dragon is a part of the natural magic of the world. And then there's the actual like magic spells and magic stuff you do, which is where you manipulate the weave. So a wizard casting a spell is manipulating the weave. A barbarian raging and having his ancestors show up to help is natural. And therefore does not get canceled by a dispel magic or an anti-magic shell. And so the ancestors can manifest themselves because it's a naturally occurring magic. that exists in the world. And so the superhuman strength, these are just different levels of magic imbuing on the characters. Overall, our conversation was about, let's see, like, I mean, the warlock part was a bit of it, but I feel like even that was within the context of making the magic make sense, or making the supernaturalness of things make sense.
Yes,
Within the
the
game.
thing.
And
That's what I was going for.
yeah.
You hit it.
No, yeah, yes, but like the way I handle warlocks is like the opposite of how I handle the fairy picking things up, which is, with some things I need explanation, with other things I, in one direction, with other things I need an explanation in the other direction. And I kind of feel like that's going to be true for a lot of dungeon masters and players. So it's important to talk with your dungeon master to make sure you guys get on the same page. And dungeon masters don't lie to the player. If the player says they want to do something and you're not okay with it, just say, look, I don't like that, and I don't like that in my campaigns. I'm not going to DM that well for you, and this is why, because this is my opinions on it. So if you want to do that, I'm not going to recommend my game for you, and save everybody the heartache. Because this is how you end up on Dungeon Masters horror stories, is by not having that open communication. If you come in to my game and you want to play a Hexblade, I'm going to tell you, look, I don't like Hexblades. I created a feat, so you pick a patron from my list, because I run very specific patrons in my world, and you can get the Hexblade gift feat, but you yourself are not going to have the Hexblade Warlock. You're not going to get, that accursed spirit powers, or et cetera, et cetera. So if that is going to be a deal breaker,
this entire patron is stupid, and we're not going to fuck with it.
Right. And so if that's not going to work for you, then go ahead and don't bother. And I understand if you don't want to play my campaign, if that's the case. I personally feel that this will be more interesting. If you want to try it, we can go ahead with that. Because I'm going to be upfront about it. Like the same way I was upfront about how much I hate druids.
It did prevent there being druids in the first campaign.
It did. And but even later on, when I allowed druids, and I said, okay. And as soon as I allowed druids, we had like 2 druids. As soon as I allowed it, everybody wanted to be a druid.
2.
Yeah. The star one.
Right. Okay. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, the stars druid. But yeah, no. So we're looking at us being, as this being kind of like the, keeps not registering my eyes correctly on this. Yeah. We're gonna say that this is very much about the communication between dungeon master and player, because that's the other thing we touched upon, was that the body horror spooked you, kind of like it came out of left field. It jumped through the window while you were going down the hallway, and you weren't expecting it. That's Resident Evil 1 reference is what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that scene.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Those dogs always scared me in that hallway. Like, no matter how many times I played that game. They did a good job.
Here
on
comes the dog. Dog. Ah!
The dog is coming. The dog is coming. The dog is here. Ah! Oh goodness. But yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be it. It's like, openly communicate. I know it's hard. Yeah. But like, if you're just gonna be an asshole about it later, why do that? Because it's like, they're not gonna like it. They're gonna think you're an asshole, and they don't ever want to see you again. And if you don't want to deal with it, then why let it happen?
Why put yourself in that position to begin with?
Yeah. Because then you just, you're allowing yourself to be an asshole at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, cool. I kind of like this. I kind of like, because I like having a conversation that goes everywhere. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, Pumpkin. I mean, Fiddlesticks.
Right. Because fiddlesticks and pumpkin are different Oh, who the fuck are we kidding? Okay, this is Pumpkin playing fiddlesticks and Pangoria Fallstar. I feel like we're kind of signing out at this point.
We are. So I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna say if you can support us on Ko-fi, and we're gonna be making more 5e compatible content and releasing it there. I'd really appreciate it. Bye, Pumpkin.
Bye.